Alright, what we're doing here now today is we're going to make some Whoopie Slings out of some 7/64 Am steel blue. And this is the dark gray color that I purchased. I also ordered some silver color so that I'd have two different colors for each of our hammocks. And what I did is I purchased this Am steel in 25-foot segments. The very first step that we're going to do is you take the 25-foot lengths and you cut them in half, giving you the 12.5-foot lengths that you need. We're going to taper the ends. You've seen that in a previous video, so I'm not going to get into too much detail about that, but we're just going to do that on each end of these. And since I'm doing 4 sets worth, I'll have to do that 16 times. And just like before, we're going to take the ends, we're going to bulge it out, and we're going to take out 3 of the threads just so that we can make the end just a little bit thinner. Sometimes this works really well and sometimes it is a nuisance. So I'm using just a nail that I've taken the grinder and I've smoothed it down so there wouldn't be any rough edges. Just making sure that you have that set, and then you come here with your knife and make sure you're using a cutting board. You don't want to cut your wife's table or anything else that she might value more than your own life. And you trim those ends off and you just milk that down, and as you can see it's thinned that out. You do that on each end of each piece. So there you go, the 2 ends. And if you turn over here, you'll just see that I have done the other 7. And I've got the dark gray, and I've got the silver. And so each hammock will have a dark gray end, and we'll have a silver whoopie sling, so that I know which end's my head end, which end's my foot end, and it'll make it just easier. It's real convenient. On my hammocks, that's what I have, and so for my boys, I'm going to make that easy for them. So we'll come back to you when I'm into the next step. All right, now what we want to do on our Whoopie Slings, on the one end, we want to put in a fixed loop. So as you can see here, this is my tapered end, and what we want to do is get some measurements here. And what I want is a 3-inch fixed loop. And so what we do is we set our tape on here, and with our Sharpie, we first of all make a mark on the 5-inch so that we have a 4-inch bury. And because I want a 3-inch loop, I'm going to add an additional 6 inches and then mark at the 11. So I've done that on all of the ropes that I've done. And now what we'll do is we will make that fixed loop. And so what you do first of all is you take your fishing line, and you go to your 11-inch mark. Of course, you open it up. And once again, you're making sure that you're getting even on both sides. So you're in the center. And you're going to pull, and you put your tapered end into the fishing line. And you pull that through. Okay, until you come to the next mark, and you pull that mark through, and that becomes the next spot where you're going to put your fishing wire through. So what I like to do is I put my finger in here like this so I don't lose it or pull it too far. Open this up. And we feed our fishing line through, again making sure that you're even. And what we do is we go all the way to the other end of the rope, making sure, and I do this to make sure that I don't have any knots in the rope, because the very first time I did it, I didn't do that and I had a knot in the rope. So put that into our fishing line, and we pull that through. Okay, so we pull that all the way through, and what it ends up looking like at this point is something like this. Okay, looks like a figure 8. And so what we're going to do, what we need to do now is we need to just pull it together until you have this. You just pull your two ends nice and snug. Okay, essentially we now have our fixed loop. Okay, that's nice and strong. Now we want to bury this end here. We don't want that showing, so we need to bury that. So what we do is just like before on the other items we did, we're going to hide it, and you have to come about 1.5 inches past where the end of the line is. Our fishing line in again up through the middle of the rope. And be careful that you don't poke out. You want to be right in the center, making sure all of the rope is wrapped around your fishing wire. And keep going until you come very close to the end. Now on this, you can't come out the same hole because that's an option that's not available. So what you do is you come out as close as possible to the line where it crosses, making sure that you come out through the thing like that. Okay, it's actually quite easy. This part's quite easy. Okay, so what you're going to do is you just pull that through like so. Okay, so you can see you just pull your line through so it's nice and solid. Now you can see that this is all a bunch of this is quite loose, and you just milk that out until it hides the end of the line, giving you a nice clean finish. A 3-inch fixed loop. Alright, now that we've got our fixed loop, what we're going to do now is work on the adjustable loop on the other end. But in order to be able to do that on the other end, we actually do most of our measurements from the fixed loop end. We want to be able to bury our rope in there, but where we start, so our first measurement, I like to measure from about 12 inches. That gives me plenty of room for my other bury, so we don't run into that. About 4 inches from the other bury. And then from the 12-inch, so I make a mark here at the 12-inch, and then I add an additional 10 inches at 22 inches, which gives me a 10-inch bury for the adjustable loop. Alright, so now I've got those two marks. We will take our fishing line. And this is relatively easy if you've got a good tool, but you want to make sure you're in there right, not threading any wires, any line, and you're just going to slowly feed it through, making sure you don't pop out anywhere along the rope, and you just carefully feed it through. Okay, just work that down so you've come into the first hole at the 12-inch mark, and you're going to come out. Oh, see? Don't want to come out too early. Alright, so I've come to my next mark, and I'll come out there. Okay, carefully coming out. Now I've got 10 inches of rope there that we're through. Now we'll grab our other end, and again I like to run it through my hand so that I don't have a knot in there, because you don't want to do all this and then realize you've got a knot in your line. Okay, so we're going to put this into the fisher. Okay, really carefully get past that first little bit, and then we're going to just pull it through. Okay. Alright, so now we've created the adjustable loop. And we'll just pull that through. Okay. I'll show you how this works. If you're not familiar with what a whoopie sling is, it's commonly used in hammocks for hanging hammocks. That's what I use it for. So we milk out the loop here. Now, as you can see, you can adjust it. You can make the loop bigger or smaller, depending on the length and the distance between the tree and your hammock. But once it's set, okay, I got my fixed loop here and I got my adjustable loop here. No matter how hard I pull on that, it doesn't move. And that's what makes a whoopie sling so effective in being able to quickly adjust and then feel secure in your hang. Alright, so that's what finishes the whoopie sling there. Now we've got one step left, and that is burying the adjustable end. As you can see here, we have an ugly end, and that will be the next step. We want to finish this tattered end here so that it looks clean and finished, and that'll be our final step on this. So this is really simple. You just take the end, you fold it over a couple inches. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then again, just like we've been doing all along, we come about 1.5 inches back. We move this forward and we pull it forward here into our rope until we get all the way to where we folded the end, and we come out there and we feed our tapered end into that, which is now just a tattered mess, but feed that into there, and we start to pull it back in on itself. Now you have to be careful here. This is it's easy, but this is a kind of a really important part, and what you don't want to do is turn this rope inside out on itself. And so the trick that I've used is I've taken my nail, and as I pull back out, I have my nail in there so that it doesn't do that. It won't allow it to go in on itself and turn it inside out. So once I've come to that point, I want to leave myself enough here to pull. I pull my nail out. You'll see I've got a tiny little loop here. So I carefully pull it so it's almost coming all the way in. And right before it goes in, I hold on to that and I just milk this out, hiding the ugly tethered end, and then I just kind of pull it out like that, and we're left with a nice finished end. And that creates a whoopie sling, which will be used on our hammocks, our hammock systems. And what this will create, because it adjusts, it creates a line that can reach a maximum of approximately 6 feet and a minimum, when pulled tight, of 2 feet. And this will be attached to our ham steel continuous loops. This will be run through the end of the hammock, and of course this will be run like so with the lark's head knot, which in the end will become a square knot. So that's attached to the hammock, and this is attached to the whoopie sling. Alright, and that's it for the making of a whoopie sling. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the remarks, and I'll try to answer what I can. Enough for 4 hammocks, each end of each hammock, and I usually make the darker end my head end and the lighter end my foot end. That way, every time I set up my hammock, I set it up the same way. All right, and that's it. Thank you.